So do you want us to present what we have, or do you already have the design board and stuff there?
Nope.
System.
Quinn and Dustin will present it, and then they'll ask for you to present if needed.
Perfect.
Yeah. Am I unmuted?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for joining today. We have one item today, and that's the JLR project over on 300 South and I don't know what it is, 7th East-ish. But before we begin, we're going to read this document about how we're gathering and how the public can be engaged. It is about a full page, so bear with me while I read. In accordance with Utah's Open and Public Meeting Act, I have determined that conducting meetings of the Provo City Design Review with an anchor location, such as the council chambers, presents a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present there. These are the facts upon which I have made this determination. First, the World Health Organization has clarified novel coronavirus disease, aka COVID-19, as a pandemic. Also, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention state that COVID-19 is easily spread from person to person between people who are in close contact with one another. Also, State Public Health Order 2021-3 addresses the ongoing COVID-19 public health emergency and establishes minimum standards to address the unique circumstances in different locations. Also, Utah County is currently listed as having a high level of coronavirus transmission as determined by the state's transmission metrics. Also, physical distancing measures will be difficult to set up and maintain in the council chambers and other meeting rooms. Therefore, for the next 30 days, all meetings of the Provo City Design Review will be conducted entirely via electronic means. Meetings are broadcast live and available later on demand at youtube.com/user/Provo Channel 17 and at facebook.com/Provo Channel 17. Agendas and supporting materials are available at provo.org/design review. To make a public comment or to join a meeting via telephone, follow the instructions provided on public notices of each meeting. To send comments to Provo City Design Review members or weigh in on current issues, email them to dspublichearings@provo.org. And then, as amended by HB 5002, Open and Public Meetings Act Amendments 2020, 5th Special Session, Utah Code Annotated ACA 52-4-207, provide that a public body may convene and conduct an electronic meeting without an anchor location if the chair or the public body does the following. A, makes a written determination that conducting and maintaining with an anchor location presents a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present at the anchor location. Second, states in a written determination described in subsection 4A the facts upon which the determination is based. Third, includes in the public notice for the meeting and reads at the beginning of the meeting the information described in subsections 4A and B. And lastly, includes in the public notice information on how a member of the public may view or make a comment at the meeting. UCA 52-4-207 states that a written determination described in subsections 4A and B expires 30 days after the day on which the chair of the public body makes the determination. All right. So yeah, that just means a lot of us are meeting digitally instead of in person. So how this works is we will hear the presentation, we will look at the renderings and hear kind of what you guys want to present about what the building looks like and why. We will then have a question and answer session where the board asks the JLR group questions about the project. And then the board will discuss amongst ourselves whether we want to make a recommendation and what that is. So the JLR team, you guys are up for making your presentation, kind of showing us what you've got.
All right. So, am I good to talk, Dustin, or do you?
Yeah, you can go ahead. I have a few slides here. I don't know if you want me to stay on one while you discuss it, but essentially, I'll just jump back a slide here and we'll just read in the item real fast. It's Alan Poulson requests design review approval for the renovation of the commercial building located at 655 East, 300 South in the general commercial CG zone. And so this is the site where the former Allen's grocery store is, and the applicant is looking to modify the facade on the building and improve the landscaping on the property. And so, yeah, if you want to go ahead, Scott, and add anything to what it is you're doing that the design review committee would like to hear, that'd be great.
So yeah, so as you can see from this rendering, you see the building as is on top, and then below our proposed option. For the most part, the building in its entirety is staying the same shape and size. There's no real additions to it other than we wanted to fix up the facade, make it a little more modern. We are an architectural woodworking company that is going to move in there in this side of things, as well as a general contractor. But our architectural woodwork division will be in this building. So we'll have more of a wood clad facade, a weathered wood look out front, storefront, commercial glass. And then where the terracotta shingles were on the existing overhangs or canopies, we're going to switch that out to a metal roofing and just kind of give everything an update. You can see there the wood siding. Existing finishes will remain more or less as they are on the block. We did put some color samples there so you could see the smooth and the rough, and then our idea of what metal roofing we'd be putting on out front. And so yeah, that's our basic design there, as well as there's a landscape plan included to bring the parking lot up to code. We'll be adding some parking islands with landscaping all around, planting quite a few more trees and bringing everything up to date there. And yeah, I think pretty self-explanatory, just to kind of, and then interior, we're just, again, remodeling with some office space and conference room and then some production space as well. And then you have shipping out the back of the building as it currently exists. We will clean up the back where our dumpster enclosure and stuff goes and add some more screening back there to try to be as clean and tidy as we can be as a neighbor for the rest of the neighborhood.
Okay. Well, design review committee, what kind of questions do we have?
Do we have any input from the neighborhood chair on this at all?
She sent out an email that I saw, and nothing outrageous, no concern. People are excited to see something go in there. Okay. Overall is what I gathered.
We did hold a town hall meeting via Zoom, neighborhood meeting as last Tuesday night, and for the most part, I would say everyone was supportive of the project. They asked the questions. They're excited to see something change from just an abandoned building, in their words, and they're also excited that it's not apartment buildings, is what they said. And Kira, her last name's escaping me, but Kira is the neighborhood chair there, and she voiced her support as well as the vice chair supported the project. And we had about 25 people in attendance via Zoom, and I would say 90% of them were in favor. There was a few that wanted a grocery store back there, but understood that may not happen.
Right. Okay. It says here that it's wood style siding, but your sample here is clearly real wood. I am just curious. Well, is it real wood or synthetic or?
Our intent would be real wood because that's what we
Right.
use, just a cedar type product to hold up to the weather, but real wood.
Okay. And then the stone samples you've provided, that's where you're just going to be doing a little bit of infill to match the existing cinder block and stone type facade.
Yeah, for the most part, to show what was on the building. So there's some smooth and some split face block both, and some fluted split face block. So that was there just to show the color that the existing building is right now as it sits, and you'll see a picture in the upper left corner there. So we're just, and if we have to patch in, we would use similar materials, but we will be cutting in an overhead door that's a little bigger than the man door that's on the far south of the building, the southwest corner of the building.
James and Phil, any comments?
I'm curious if we can go back to the front elevation. Is there any depth into the front entry, or is that all kind of a flush face?
So you can see there is some depth. If you look at that existing terracotta, that's about an 8-foot wide walkway, so it pops out there. And then there's a little bit of, just like those arches there's about a foot of inset in those arches. We'll maintain that inset and we'll set the windows back, but we'll fur everything out and straighten out those arches with more of a modern look, straight line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the only design critique I have is that the entryway feels kind of like a postage stamp rather than like something with a little bit of dimension to it. I don't know if nixing the window right above the door and having some sort of like cool wood overhang feature or something to kind of just make it have more of a transition from the parking lot into the space and kind of give it more of a sense of arrival. And then I know it's not the purview of this team to give feedback on it, but I think it would be amazing to see through those windows into some of the actual production so that it's not just like white walls or conference rooms or something, but like the neighborhood can sort of get a sense of what's actually happening inside without having to enter the building. So I know we can't give feedback, like required feedback on that.
But so those windows on the west actually will look into the production floor.
Oh,
so
cool.
you'll see through those, as well as I like your idea of like some kind of awning or entry over the front door to set it apart. I mean, that's nothing crazy or there. I like the idea of that. So
yeah, I think the palette looks nice though, and like I love that there's a lot more trees on the site plan for the parking lot. It's going to just make that feel a little more welcome.
We may keep the payphone that's existing there as an antique.
Cool. Okay, anything from Phil?
Can you hear me?
We can.
Great. Yeah, I have a couple of comments from the landscape side. You're showing planting islands in the parking lot. I can't tell for sure how big they are, how wide I'm specifically. I assume like 6 feet or less. And most of them have deciduous trees and various shrubs and the like. I don't know. I know it would probably throw your parking off to enlarge those, but I know you probably know, or your landscape architect knows, that the soil beneath this existing parking lot is not desirable for planting. I noticed in his notes that he had requesting or requiring a minimum of 6 inches of topsoil to be in these places. I would say that would be a bare minimum. If you're going to have tree, B&B trees or potted, that are sizable, I think you're calling for a 2-inch caliper or something like that.
Correct.
These ones need to be excavated, in my opinion, to a depth of maybe 18 inches at the minimum, because most of these roots are going to grow sideways out into whatever soil or good stuff that they can find. And if it's not there, they're going to decline fairly quickly within 5 years. So the other question, and I asked Dustin to send me the landscape sheet. That's kind of why I've had a heads up look at it. The irrigation notes I noted included pop-up heads. I'm assuming 1,800 rainbirds or something that's 12, 18 feet in radius. The others are calling for rotary types, which are usually for larger areas, lawns and the like, which I don't see any of on this plan. I would think you would be having some drip or something like that in these planting islands. So I think that needs to be a little bit clearer in your final construction document. There are 2 trees at the east end of the parking lot over to what's identified as a neighboring building. And I don't think the scale on my screen is correct, but I would assume that these look like they're, 6 to 8 feet away from that building wall. And the graphic illustration of those trees I didn't find in the legend. So I don't know what they are for sure. But if they're Velcova or honey locust, I would say at a minimum, trade the places with the shrubs that are on the outer edge or the curb edge to the west, or eliminate the trees, because it's going to be way too close to that building. You'll end up just having to prune it to death in order to keep in bounds.
No, we agree with that comment on the trees. As far as moving them out to the edges of the island would be advantageous for the trees' health. We also do landscaping in-house, so we're familiar with topsoil depths. And again, this is kind of the rough sketch of what we're doing with the correct, type of tree and what we're going to be planting. But I don't see any call for any rotary heads, as you mentioned. I think you're spot on with that. And we'd be doing some drip system and some small radius heads, pop-up heads. But yes, I agree with what you're saying. And that tree does need to be planted in some good soil. So when we dig out the existing parking lot to put in those islands, our intent is to over-X below and then fill it back up with topsoil as deep as we can. And again, to keep those roots, healthy, because the trees are important to have.
Awesome.
Yeah, I don't know for sure how your construction method would be in the parking lot. You're going to have to cut existing asphalt and excavate out for those islands. I don't know if there's any way that you could excavate wider. And this is what I'm not totally familiar with, but in order for your curbing to go back in, you're going to have something fairly substantial to hold it. But if you could have good soil underneath the pavement that's going to go back adjacent to those islands, that would be even better.
And we agree. We, on the commercial side of our construction, we do a lot of city parks with parking lots similar to this with islands. And so, again, familiar with the process of both maintaining the curb and maintaining a shrub life for years to come. So that's important to us, and that's something that we do on our commercial side of construction on a regular basis. So we appreciate you noting those things.
Okay, thanks. And while I have you, I was a little slow getting set up here and didn't hear all of what's going to happen in the building. Would you mind just reviewing that briefly?
Woodwork company, we're AWI premium company. We do a lot of woodwork and high-end woodwork for residential, Class A office space, LDS temples, things like that. So we have design services where we have engineers and architects. We have a sales floor on there as well inside the building, where conference room, where we, a little showroom, so to speak, for people. And then we have a production facility in the back that would actually produce the woodwork that ships all over the world. We did the Rome Temple, Payson Temple, Brigham City Temple. We're doing the Feather River, California Temple, and waiting to hear on some stuff for the Salt Lake Temple. But we have the new BYU School of Music that's going in the parking lot up on 9th East by the BYU Creamery. We're doing all the woodwork in that building, so the auditorium and all the other stuff will be produced by our company.
Okay, sounds great.
All right, I think I've made a handful of notes here. I think we've come around with a handful of suggestions. So, do we have any public comment yet?
No public comments at this time. 30 seconds.
Okay. No, I'm trusting you on that stopwatch.
Okay, no public comments.
All right, cool. Okay, so now public comment and questions have essentially ended. So among the design review committee, let's have a brief discussion and then make a motion. I made some notes here. We have a couple paths we can take. We can require that they redo everything and come back to us, or we can approve it and say it looks awesome, or we can do something in the middle where we say, we love it, let's move forward. Here's a list of a couple suggestions. And those suggestions would go attached to our recommendation for the planning review what's it called? What's the next step? The what?
Project plan?
No, planning committee, is that what it is?
Commission.
Planning commission. That would go with the recommendation to the planning commission. So here are the three notes I made. Suggest making the entrance more clearly defined, because it does sort of just look like a funny window. It's not very clearly an entrance currently. But we could either make that a requirement or make it a suggestion. The next note I have is rethink some of the irrigation plans from the rotary sprayers to be something more appropriate, like drip. Another suggestion was to move the trees to the exterior of the islands instead of their current placement. I sort of interpreted all those things as being suggestions, not requirements. What do you guys think?
That's fine with me.
I agree.
Okay.
I'd agree with that.
All right. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'd make a motion to approve it with the suggestions.
Okay. A second?
Second it?
Okay. All in favor? Yep.
Aye.
Aye.
Awesome. Did everyone get the notes they needed from those suggestions? I don't know who makes that list, but
So you said the entryway,
suggest making the entrance more clearly defined.
the irrigation.
Suggest rethinking some of the irrigation so that it's not the rotary sprayers, but maybe something more appropriate like a drip. And then,
The trees.
oh, uh-oh. I don't know if that's gonna go back in. Oh, no. Are we connected or?
We can still hear you. We can't see you.
Okay. We just busted one of our cables. I don't know what it was
I think it
for.
was the camera.
Oh, was it? Oh, shoot. Yeah, and then the last one, I didn't fully understand, but Phil made a suggestion about moving some of the trees to the exterior of the islands, but I think that the team, the JLR team understood that, so.
Yeah, we're clear on that one over along the east wall. That's kind of just borders existing businesses to keep those trees out to the very ends of the island as much as possible so we don't end up pruning them to death
Cool.
or grow tight against that wall.
Awesome. Okay. Staff, is there anything else we need to do?
That's all.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. I think we're done. We're excited for the project. I live across the street from this, so I'm glad to see the building not so disgusting.
Well, we're excited to get in there. We want to be, you know, we love being in Provo and working in Provo and are excited to move our mill workshop from Lehigh back to Provo. So it's great.
Cool. Okay. Thank you very much.
When do you expect to start the construction on it?
Soon as possible. So if we can keep moving, Dustin, do you know when we can move into project or planning commission? Sorry.
Yeah, we're finishing review in the CRC and then we'll move it on to planning commission soon. So I'll get with you on those dates.
Perfect. Thank you, Dustin.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Houston's on wire.
Dustin, was there a motion to adjourn?
I didn't know we needed one. We're adjourned.
I'll second that.
Let's take a look at